Ron Howard has always carried himself as one of Hollywood's steady hands, calm, thoughtful, respectful. But when asked about the darker side of the industry he grew up around, his tone changes. He once said quietly that most people wouldn't believe what went on behind the cameras during Hollywood's so-called golden age. To him, it wasn't golden at all. It was an era built on silence, on protection, on power without consequences. The same stars who shaped America's dreams were, in some cases, destroying lives when no one was watching. Take Errol Flynn, the original swashbuckling hero long before audiences met James Bond or Jack Sparrow. On screen, he was daring, romantic, irresistible. Off screen, his life was steeped in scandal and excess. In 1942, two teenage girls accused him of serious crimes. The trial gripped the nation. Warner Brothers stood firmly behind its star. He was acquitted, and his legend survived. But years later, private letters revealed a far darker mindset, one that mocked the very people who feared him. He died at 50, his body ravaged by addiction. For Howard, Flynn's story showed how charm could shield cruelty. Then there was Kirk Douglas, intense, driven, unforgettable in Spartacus. Born into poverty, he fought his way to stardom. But those who worked beside him often described a temper that scorched everything nearby. Stories followed him for decades. Whispers of domination, fear, and serious allegations that surfaced long after the events themselves. He was celebrated with a Lifetime Oscar in 1996. To many, it was redemption. To Howard, it was a reminder of how power can rewrite memory. Faye Dunaway represented a different kind of darkness. Brilliant in Bonnie and Clyde in Chinatown, she was magnetic on screen. Off-screen, crew members spoke of eruptions, thrown objects, humiliation, emotional intimidation. Howard once described it as power without grace. Her talent was undeniable, but so was the reputation that slowly isolated her from the industry she once ruled. And few figures loomed larger than John Wayne. To millions, he was America personified. Yet his public statements and on-set behavior painted a harsher picture. Rigid, confrontational, often openly prejudiced. Howard later said that when he studied Wayne's performances, it was hard to separate the character from the man. The myth endured. The man was more complicated. Then came the case that shattered illusions entirely. Roman Polanski, a celebrated filmmaker who fled the United States in 1977 after pleading guilty to unlawful relations with a minor. When he later won an Oscar from abroad, much of Hollywood stood and applauded. Howard did not. For him, it symbolized the industry's deepest flaw, separating brilliance from responsibility. Finally, there was Mickey Rooney, once the smiling face of American optimism, a child superstar who became the highest-paid actor in the country. But behind that grin were addictions, broken marriages, financial collapse, and a trail of hurt that followed him into old age. He died with little money and a fractured legacy. For Ron Howard, these stories aren't about tearing down legends. They're warnings. Hollywood's golden age glittered on the surface, but beneath it was a system that protected power and punished vulnerability. The real monsters, Howard once reflected, aren't in horror films. They're the ones the spotlight protects. Subscribe 90s Playback for daily new videos and press the bell icon so you don't miss any update.